MBAA was a big one for Aerion. Do you want to take us through the new engine first?
Yeah, and you talk about flying from London. I just came back from Hong Kong. My God, that's a long flight. Hi, everybody. MBAA was a really big deal for us. For those of you who missed it, we had the president of the Lockheed Martin division that's working with us to develop the airplane. We had Brad Montier, the president of the GE division that's making this engine for us. And we had the division president for Honeywell announcing that we'd selected them for the avionics. The news on the engine for us was huge. I know of at least one competitor who said that if we didn't find an engine, we'd be a really fast glider. Now we're a glider with a really big engine, and we're really pleased about that.
Why was it so difficult to get an engine? You know, you guys have been working on the project for how many years now?
15 years. It's about half that if you say it quickly.
So you've been working on it as long as Honda. Slightly less than Honda. But did you find competition from engine makers?
The issue with the engine is really very simple. It's not easy. Trying to get an engine that will comply with today's regulations. Never mind stage 4. We're going to be complying with stage 5 requirements, which kick in 2020. Finding an engine that will give us the specific fuel consumptions that we need, give us the altitude that we need, the performance on the ground to fulfill our commitment to have an aircraft that will fly out of a 7,500-foot runway and meet balanced field lengths. It's not easy. And then finding a manufacturer who's willing to take on the contractual obligation of developing an engine within the time frame that we have. You put those all together, and it ends up being quite a challenge. And thankfully, GE has stepped up to the challenge, and we're going to get there.
Okay, we're going to go straight to a question from the audience. Concorde went more than twice as fast as the fastest business jets today. What did Concorde, was it Mach 2?
Mach 2.
Will Aerion make enough of a difference at Mach 1.4?
Yeah, you know, I joined the company in May of 2015, and I think I was on the payroll about 3 hours before I asked the question, why aren't we going Mach 2? And the answer, again, is a simple one. The challenge to go through 1.5 is bigger than going through Mach 1. And getting to Mach 2 is an enormous challenge beyond even that. So we chose, way back when we designed the airplane, to take the lesser of the challenges, get through 1.4, 1.5, and then accept the challenges further down the road. The AS2 is, and Tom Weiss, our CEO, announced this at MBAA, the AS2 is not going to be the only airplane we're going to build. Our 50-year development plan has an AS3, an AS4, and maybe even an AS5 in its long-distance future. I don't think I'll be around then, but some of you may be.
So MBAA, you've announced a new engine. You've got, a few years ago, you got a commitment / options from FlexJet. What's the next big challenge? Where are you going to build it? Is that the last one?
No, I think the next challenge, there are no technological challenges on this airplane now. Now that we have the engine, we're not going to have to invent anything new that hasn't already been done to get this airplane to certification. What we have to focus on now is start getting the big vendor items contracted to. So people who are going to build the sections of the fuselage, wings, landing gear, those big items, start signing contracts with those, hopefully in the not too distant future. And then, of course, conclude the site selection for where we're going to build the factory. What we do know is we need the factory to be near deep water for some of the components that will come from overseas. We need it to be near water for when we begin the supersonic trials. We don't want to have to fly halfway across the country to start accelerating to supersonic speeds. So there's still some work to do, but the technological challenges once we get through this engine certification now are not that huge.
When do you hope to start the certification process?
Well, we expect to fly the airplane on June the 23rd, 2023. That will be the first flight of the AS2, and a few months later, on October the 24th, the challenge will be to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the last Concorde flight from New York to London, October the 24th of 2023.
Okay, we've got a question from Mike Francis. I think the general rule is if you put your name, or at least someone else's name, on the question, you get the top billing. Is the engine a clean sheet, or is it a derivative of an existing engine?
It's a derivative of an existing engine. GE are taking an existing core that has over 1 billion hours of safe flight on the aircraft, and they're building the fan around it.
Okay, another named question from Xander. Where do you have an opportunity to reinvent the cabin experience? And are you getting this as a request from potential owners?
Our founder and owner of the company, Robert Bass, currently owns 2 ultra-long-range airplanes. He's been using airplanes for most of his business life. And he knows what the customers want of an existing airplane. And the challenge he keeps laying at the engineers that our airplane, because of the price, because of the kind of people that will be flying in the airplane and their expectations, we have to be not as good as the existing airplanes, but better in almost every aspect.
So I've looked at the 3D mock-up of the AS2, and it looks lovely. Yeah. But it's still it's very similar, isn't it, to existing, it's a similar width, the tube, the height similar.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can do which is really different? Or?
Well, speaking as a European, I'd like it to look much sexier. There's no question about it. But we deal in our business, and many of you can associate with this. We deal with a vast array of customers across the world. Some like this kind of interior, some like that kind of an interior. The challenge was to make an interior that didn't put anybody off. We didn't want to win 15% of the market out there. We wanted to go conservative. But it is my goal in 2019 to see if we can add some pizzazz to our interiors. No question.
Another question from the audience. Most engineers say, I'm not quite sure how to read this one, so I could do it both ways. Most engineers say the biggest challenge in engineering is the nacelle. I actually think it's most engineers say the biggest ass challenge in engineering. It's the nacelle. Do you have a nacelle partner?
Do we have a nacelle problem? We don't believe so. There are obviously some things that we need to do to the nacelle to make this engine comply with stage 5. You've seen some pictures of it rolling up on the screen. We don't think we have any problems with those.
Okay, do we have any old school questions for Ernie? Yeah, can we get the microphone to Leo Knappen? It's on its way, Leo. It's right here, it is.
Thank you. Thanks, Ernie. So question I have, technological challenges are still fairly significant with the boom, of course, but I understand what you're saying regarding the engine. My biggest question is the regulations and standards, which are mired right now at ICAO, and of course before they filter down to EASA in Europe and the FAA here in America and so on and so forth. It's going to take a long time to get that kind of approval. Just kind of wondering, what are you guys doing to try and alleviate that?
You're like my shadow. Every CJI investor meeting I go to, you remind me of the challenge. And what he's referring to, of course, is FAA, ICAO regulations across the globe. I think we can all take comfort from the fact that all the OEMs are meeting on a pretty regular basis today with the FAA, who coordinate with ICAO as to the forthcoming regulations regarding supersonic flight. There was a Congress bill passed, I think it was called the budget for the FAA about a month ago. I don't remember the exact terminology for it. in which the FAA were instructed by Congress to prepare themselves for supersonic flight because it is coming. Civilian supersonic flight is coming. There's enough talk about it. We think we're the market leaders. We think we're going to be the first, but none of the OEMs want to be left outside the door when it comes to compiling the regulations under which we will all fly civilian supersonically.
When do you predict that an existing OEM will announce a supersonic aircraft?
I can't predict. I don't know if there are any other serious OEMs out there that are considering supersonic flight. I can imagine they're looking at it. But where they are with engine selection, the first question you said, you asked me this afternoon was, why is it taking so long? It's taking so long because they're not out there to be grabbed. A new engine, a totally new engine today would take 10 years and $5 billion to develop. A growth engine such as we're building is going to take 5 years and about $1 billion. So it's no easy challenge.
So now you've brought numbers up. How much will it cost to get Aerion to delivery of the first aircraft for a customer?
Developed and certified, we're looking at round about a billion four.
1.4 billion for the whole.
For the whole shellackle.
That hardly covers your salary, surely. We've got a question going. So, what are you doing to protect your first mover advantage?
Just working very, very hard at maintaining the goals that we've set ourselves. You didn't ask me why June the 23rd, 2023.
I knew.
Oh, you knew?
Yeah.
Okay. June the 23rd, 2023 is the 5th anniversary of June the 23rd, 2018, when we finally sat down and built the roadmap to getting this airplane up and flying. It's a huge challenge, but it's one that we've looked at upside down, inside out. We had help with Airbus, and now we've got a lot of help with Lockheed to achieve those goals.
Okay, so you're talking about partnerships. Chad from AIN is asking, are you talking to NASA about its planned low-boom demonstration flights?
I get asked that question a lot. You know, NASA awarded the contract to Lockheed Martin. That's a government-funded contract, and all manufacturers will benefit from whatever analysis Lockheed come up with in fulfillment of that contract.
Okay, Chad's thrown in another question. Is the GE engine exclusive to Aerion? Is the engine exclusive to Aerion, or I'm guessing no?
It is exclusive to Aerion. We've got the first dibs, as the Brits would call, on the engine, and as far as we are aware, it is exclusive to us.
Will it be challenging for buyers to get financing for it's $120 million, but today there's a discount, you can get 10% off.
Only for you.
Will it be, do you think it's going to be hard to get these aircraft financed at $120 million?
You know, there were some folks on the stage that could probably answer that question better than I, but to this date, the LOI, the people who have signed LOIs with us have not been concerned with that issue. So I can only talk about my own experience with the customers that we already have LOIs from.
Right. Any more old school questions? Okay, we'll end with quick fire. Will you be able to get in and out of Teterboro?
Yes.
Great. How many do you plan on building?
We believe there's a market for 360 aircraft over 20 years, 30 airplanes a year. Sorry, 600 aircraft over 20 years.
600 aircraft over 20 years.
30 a year.
Any more questions? So the final question, and we always see, you know, despite their best interests or their best wishes, there is a tradition of OEMs delivering aircraft late. Your product is a brand new, completely clean sheet design from a new manufacturer. how confident are you when you're out talking to customers, or how do you get past customers being skeptical about delivery of the first aircraft?
I think it would be truthful to say why does it take so long rather than are you going to deliver on time? 7 years is a long way to wait. 5 years to first flight and then 2 years to certification after that. It is a long time to wait. But you have to look at the heritage that's behind the product now. Lockheed and GE, we've got two wonderful, immensely successful partners. You have to look at the schedule that we've drafted up to date with a lot of help from Airbus over the last 2 years. And we're all in agreement that although it is a challenge, it's doable. And what we're saying to customers today is place your LOI. In roughly 18 months to 2 years, more like 18 months from now, we'll be coming back to those LOI holders and we will spell out to them exactly what the program looks like. All the unknown questions that have been asked today will be answered at that time. And that's when I believe we'll be able to give them a lot more comfort. Meanwhile, there's a fully refundable deposit that we have from many prospective buyers. And I think we're off to a good start.
Following up on that, someone in the audience has asked, is the FlexJet order firm?
We won't comment on the specifics of the contracts that we have with our buyers. I'm sorry, whoever asked that question.
Okay, and to be fair, you know, FlexJet, if it was FirmJet, it would have to be. Any more questions? Maybe we'll stop on that one. Thank you.